Welcome to Network Today. I'm Sheryl Powers.
I'm Rob Bliss.
And we're here to take you from, you know this, right? Meeting people to
making money.
That's right. I'm so all about that here in 2023.
I tell you, it's the start of a new year, Sheryl, and it's that great time. We have the opportunity to kind of reassess, set new goals, and what a great topic we have today. I think the timing is perfect.
Set new goals while we talk about whack-a-mole.
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 Helping you find the right networking groups.
That's right, because it is like a whack-a-mole. That's how you came up with the topic. It felt like whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole.
Well, I think, Sheryl, I think Dallas-Fort Worth is like the networking capital of the country. There are so many networking groups here.
Yeah.
And again, we've got to be intentional, make sure we're not wasting our time. And so I think this is a great episode. We got such a great guest coming up.
We do indeed. So what you can expect if this is brand new to you is we're gonna talk about a specific topic. So this topic is Whack-a-Mole, finding the best networking group. We're going to then talk about a grand slam, which is our big success story of the week.
Yes.
Then we're going to talk about our guests. Then we're going to do a wrap, right, with our action items. So you want to sit through the whole thing. It's going to be about 35 minutes. But before that, go back to the beginning, right? Wouldn't this be a great time as we launch into the year and we're still into the first month?
Yes.
There's still time to catch up. So we're into how many episodes, Rob?
I think this is 31.
I think so too. 31. 31 episodes. So catch up and then you'll be caught up. And here we are talking about how to find the best networking group. And this is a good time of year to talk about that because there are so many. To your point, Rob, I have had so many conversations with people about do we have this many networking groups before the pandemic hit? Like, what is this? Why do we have like 3 or 4 or 5 networking events a night now when it used to be 2 or 3 a month? Mm-hmm. Like it felt like.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But what do you attribute that to?
Well, I think again is, with COVID, that, everybody was closed doors in their house. And then when the gates opened, the flood appeared. And again, people just got excited, wanted to do their own thing. I think that a lot of people had networking experience from these other groups, but it was time for them to do their own thing and it exploded.
Yeah. Well, and what I think really happened too, along with that, it exploded because people realize they need people.
Mm-hmm.
So
good point.
So while we're shut down, whether that was 2 months or 2 years, depending on where you were, we all found that there's only one way to grow our business, and that's to go to networking groups or to network with other people, right? And groups are a great setting for that. With that, you can become overwhelmed trying to find the right group. So hence it's like whack-a-mole. Oh my gosh, this group, that group, get down, get up, there we go. So how do you win the whack-a-mole networking game?
I think the first step is you've got to be intentional. Mm-hmm. You've got to sit down and really kind of write your goals. You got to understand how much time you can put into it.
Yeah.
And then, because we're trying to accomplish here is we're trying to really improve your ROI on these networking groups. But you've got, like everything else, Sheryl, you've got to have a game plan.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to have a game plan for sure. And you have to be willing to say no.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I think that's my word of the week. No.
No.
I think it's N-O. We have to learn to say no because it's business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's business. If you don't learn how to say no, if you don't learn how to put that criteria down and stick to that criteria, you find yourself bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's just time bankrupt or your money's bankrupt or both. I mean, it's expensive.
It's expensive. And again, a big part too is the amount of time that you put into it. Mm-hmm. You've only got, so many hours a day, and these networking groups, they can consume a lot of that. And so you've got to sit down, you've got to organize yourself, you got to get your calendar out, you've got a time block, which we've talked about in the past, and get yourself organized and be intentional of what you want to accomplish.
Right. I think a great tool and that the networking whack-a-mole game is to go to Purple Cow Branding and get that networking evaluation sheet.
Yeah.
Because you can begin to see where you're failing. right? If you can't seem to quantify it in your brain, that helps you quantify it. Don't you think?
No, absolutely. And because of this, with the research that we've done in the last couple of weeks on this, Sheryl, we are going to be launching a new form on the Purple Cow branding.
Just in.
And it's going to be based on the Whack-A-Mole concept that we're talking about today. Because you've got to have these resources. And again, we encourage everyone to, download these tools and pick the ones that are important to you. Because we want you to make this happen for you. We want you to have a great ROI.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, so we're going to talk more about this certainly with the guest. And then as we do a wrap, we're going to give you some actionable items. And in the meantime, when we come back, we're going to talk about a grand slam of the week.
Are you having trouble with your VoIP phone system? Smart Office USA to the rescue. We're a local company here in DFW with real people, certified technicians, and we even come to your office to help you. Smart Office USA, representing the #1 VoIP phone system on the planet. And we are right here in DFW, ready to help you. Call us 214-272-0921 or go to www.smartofficeusa.com.
All right, time for Grand Slam. I'm all about it. Success stories, because it's been like the news isn't that positive these days. What's that face? It's just not that positive. So this is great because if you look where you're going, you go where you're looking, right? If you keep your eye on the prize, more likely you get to the prize. So we're here to keep your eye on the prize.
There we go. I like that, Sheryl.
Who's going to go first?
You go first.
Yay! Thank you. You knew that's what I wanted, right? So this is so good. So Zoe Martin sent me this, and really it's to us. There was some other stuff that was personal to me, but this is the 3-page note card with an additional sticky because she had so much to say. She's just delightful.
Oh my gosh.
This is what networking's all about. So my phone keeps turning this sideways. So here's what she said. Grateful for the podcast. It's helped me network better than ever. I've met more business people here in 3 months than I did the previous 4 years of my business.
Oh my gosh.
Blessings, Zoe Martin.
Oh my gosh. She is so great.
Isn't that what this is all about?
Yes, it is.
Right? So that Grand Slam was really pertinent specifically to this show, but it's really just about the heart of giving and paying it forward and what we were hoping to achieve.
Well, exactly right. And that's, how we began this year off by saying networking stop.
That's right.
It's time. This is the great time of year where we've got to reevaluate everything. And that's I'm glad Zoe's just great. I love her.
So we meet networking, but she's become a fast friend. So so we networking, stop it. Let's just get to relationship building because that's a great one.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, and that what my success story is about, in the sense that it was announced at the end of last year that Smart Office USA was the #1 gold dealer in Dallas-Fort Worth from our phone system vendor. But what's exciting about that, Sheryl, is the fact the way we got that was because of networking. Our sales increased last year because we were more intentional about our networking.
Yeah.
And so thankful for the many people that in our community that provided us leads and contacts, connections. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Seeing the result, meeting people to making money. And it worked last year because we were intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, you were, and you are, and you're getting better all the time.
This is what I love about, I think what I love about the podcast more is I'm learning every day.
Yeah. So I am too. And it's so beautiful. It forces us to learn.
Yeah.
But isn't that so the show itself has created an accountability system for us. And that's what we want you to build as well, an accountability system. So if you can do that, then, get your accountability partner. And now you'll just continue to make those, even if they're teeny steps.
Yes.
Steps forward. So that's beautiful. I love it. That's a great Grand Slam for sure. So we got an awesome guest. She's just lovely, delightful. You're going to want to get to know Denise, and she's going to be here right after this. Let's face it, employees waste time on the company dime. Why? Life's complicated. We help keep the junk of life out of the workplace and in the hands of the experts. Empowered Advantage, empowering employees, giving businesses the advantage. Letter M as in magnificent, poweredadvantage.com. Welcome to our guest section here as we talk about Whackamole, right? The 90-day 90-day test. I'm sure I'm not creative enough to come up with that one. I think this had to be you. But the whole Whackamole. And so funny that our lovely, amazing guest, Denise Villarreal, picked this out of the selection because I have to know, what about Whackamole was intriguing to you, Denise?
Well, I just found the title very interesting because that's a popular thing right now. Everything's whack-a-mole and this, and I thought about it in perspective to networking groups, and I thought that'll fit, to some.
Yes. Well, maybe there's a whack-a-mole candy option too, now that we know about your love for Bucky's candy section. So
yes, absolutely.
That's good. So I want to tell you a little bit about the amazing Denise because we've recently met.
Yes.
Right? When did you guys meet?
At Mid-Market West.
Okay.
Yep, November.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was just so intrigued by your background. So CPA by trade.
Yes.
But recently started your own bookkeeping franchise.
Right.
Supporting strategies.
Yes.
And I love anybody who goes from, especially those, I don't want to say this mean, but if you're a CPA, typically you're pretty spreadsheet driven, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty black and white. Mm-hmm. But you said, hey, I'm going to blossom, I'm going to bloom and become a franchisee, mm-hmm. my own business owner.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, what was that journey like?
Oh, well, it's been very good. I love networking, getting out in my community to meet potential clients and just also partners, mm-hmm. So that part has been newer for me, and I just really love that. And I always want to be in touch with my clients and just in the community itself.
So is this so on your journey of networking, do you consider yourself you're at the newbie stage?
Yes, I consider myself still a newbie.
So in your previous career, you didn't do a whole lot of networking?
No, I was
that?
the back office support.
Okay.
I was there building my accounting team and serving more the internal customers. Mm-hmm. That's what we would call them. So we weren't, necessarily customer facing. But I always was jealous of all the salespeople out there having all the fun. So now I get to do that too.
Right. So yes, just going to take charge and be that person who's going to get out and have fun.
Yes.
So how fun was it to start venturing into networking and finding the right networking group? Because that's a difficult mm-hmm. charge for a lot of people.
It's been a learning experience for me, definitely. I've made mistakes along the way. I guess everybody does, but I really like to think about my goals and what is it that I'm trying to do, mm-hmm. because I did make that mistake, and I found there's so many groups you can join. So
yes,
I got in one, and I love their mission. I love everything about them, and I thought I want to be that. And so I joined immediately, and that's okay. But then I realized I don't think I'm ready for that particular group yet, and that's going to be good for me later on, if you know what I mean.
Why?
Mm-hmm. Just because so far I I don't have any presentations developed as far as like being a speaker, although this is good experience for me.
That's right.
And I felt like it was more geared towards that,
mm-hmm.
So I just didn't think it was right for me. I'm glad I joined it, and it is for building people up, and that part I love about it. Mm-hmm. But I just felt like it wasn't the right thing immediately. So finding the right group, the purpose, and also, the relationship building is important. And, your end goal of meeting, like for me, B2B.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to be in a group that's more B2C. I've learned that. So there has been a learning
Do you have, now that you've sort of gotten your feet wet, and you've, like you said, you've made some early mistakes. Do you have some sort of goals now, like how many groups do you want to belong to? Because you could belong to 100 different groups.
Yeah, I've learned that too.
Mm-hmm. What's good? Is it 3 groups? Is it 5?
Yeah.
Is it once a week? Is it monthly? Any thoughts about that?
I do have thoughts about that. About I can't spread myself too thin. Okay. So 3 probably for me is good. I also like to get into, volunteer work, in my community. I really find that rewarding, and it's great. I meet so many new people.
Yeah.
So for that, you have to account for that time too. So, 3 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you are in accounting, so.
Yeah.
Accounting for time is probably part of that.
Yes.
So I'd like to dial back, if we can, to when you began your networking group, Whack-A-Mole contest, kind of between, hey, this group, I'm going to sift and sort. How did you find the groups?
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that obviously it was B2B, because that's what you said the criteria was. But how did you find them? And then how did you start peeling off some of them that just didn't work?
Yeah, I did a lot of Googling, and I looked on LinkedIn for groups. I specifically searched mid-market is how I found you.
Oh.
And so that helped me a lot. I had recommendations from other peers that do what I do, and they told me, your local chambers, definitely join those. So I went ahead and did that first. And those are good. I mean, I love being involved in the chambers where I live. And
is it a big chamber or a small chamber?
well, they're not huge.
Which one?
Grapevine and Keller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both of those.
Very dynamic
Yes,
chambers.
I love them, and they've been great for me. What else? But as far as peeling them back, there's some too that you can go to for free. You know what I mean? You don't really have to pay anything yet.
Right.
So I have taken advantage of those. But you have to assess: is this something I want to keep doing?
Yeah.
And so because I'm new, I loved this topic too, because you had the 90-day test.
Yeah.
And so that was great for me, thinking, okay, I'm going to do the numbers on it. I'm a numbers person. I'm going to evaluate it. I'm going to start doing it. So I haven't totally done it. It's just more done on feel right now.
Yeah.
But I want to put some numbers to it.
That's good. I know that Rob's all about numbers. Have you tapped into his document?
I have.
Have you looked at the scorecard?
I have looked at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I love it.
We're going through a kind of a revision right now, new year, and we learn from the past of how to improve it, and talking to other people and myself using it. So probably in the next 10 days we're going to have a revised.
Awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
I love all of your tools.
Yeah.
That
So
you
want to
provided,
catch
all your
those
resources.
at purplecowbranding.com, right? So when you're trying to make a decision versus paid versus free, how do you determine what's worth paying for? Because that's a real issue for a lot of people who are new into networking. They're not accounting. I wasn't accounting when I got started. And then all of a sudden you find that, for me, I was 2 years down the road before I started evaluating, going, it's bankrupting me. Like, why am I so cash poor and so networking group heavy? And so that's when I had to start making evaluations.
Yes. Well, again, I think you have to think about what is your intent, what is the group's intent, what is their purpose? Is it something structured where you can come in and know what to expect and have a time that you're going to set aside for that and stick with it, things like that. And are they, givers and not takers? Because I've learned that that's just really the best.
Yeah.
And I love that about networking. So those are definitely some things I think about.
The taking groups, I just get a real bad feeling in my stomach. That's kind of how I determine it. Like, I'm like, I don't see anybody here like really trying to pour into other people, whether it's me or somebody else, right? And I think if you're intuitive at all, maybe women are a little more intuitive. And I'm generalizing. I'm sure there are men who are really intuitive, but you start feeling like, you know what, I'm not feeling like it's a giving group, even though you can't really quantify it.
What would you, Denise, what would you like to share, say, to the audience of being a newbie in networking and trying to find these networking groups? What's some advice that you could tell those people?
I think your other contacts and experiences they've gone through, especially if you have, people that do what you do, that you're close with, and you can just ask them for their honest opinions, I think is one thing, and how that group looks to the community, I think is also another way you could assess them. And also just if you find some, getting to know who's leading them and who, just to find out as much information about them as you can, to get to find out as much as you can.
Sure. Absolutely. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you connect on LinkedIn?
I do.
With because I think that's really important too. So that probably helps you in determining the leadership and who's involved. And you're really intentional.
Yes.
So
I am.
Because you're like, well, hey, I'm a business owner now, and I need to, every hour counts, right? So in my old radio sales days, we used to say, okay, what's our hour worth? Because you have to take a look at networking like that too.
Yes, your time's valuable, so I think about that, because I'm an accountant, and I think about all the value. So you have to weigh your value of what you're getting out of the groups versus their time spent and the money. So that's why I mentioned the free things, as for new people, that's really important. But I'm willing to pay, definitely for the better, for the groups, for the help, that I'm getting out of it. So you just have to weigh that. But another thing is, go a few times. It takes a few times to go before you know. And I think that's the mistake I made for the group that I really was enamored with it. I thought, this is a great group. I immediately joined because I loved it. But then, and I'm not saying it's really a good group, but I think you need to give yourself time. Give yourself time, and also, really think about your goals and what you're trying to do.
Right.
It's not somebody else's goals, it's your goals for your business. So
that's good. That's a great point.
How about share with us, say, your biggest success story from networking since you've started?
My biggest success story is I love being able to refer, other people. So every time I've been able to do that, I've just felt so glad and happy about it. So that's been it for me.
That is so cool.
And that keeps me in there because I just keep wanting to do that,
Yeah, same with me as well. I love giving leads and referrals or connections to other people.
I do too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tip, if you want to grow as a networker and you're not getting what you need out of networking, listen to what Denise is saying. So she loves to give referrals, and that's what's helped you grow, because you were saying from 2022 to 2023, what's happened to your business?
It's definitely getting bigger. Yes, it's grown.
So, and you were saying that maybe it's the economy, or maybe it's the timing of the season, or whatever. Or maybe it's that you're being intentional about marketing, right? So
definitely.
Marketing yourself into the networking community. So
yes.
Probably both?
Probably both, yes.
Oh, man, this is so good. This is so good. So I'd like to make sure that people connect with you.
Okay.
Right? Denise Villarreal. You want to spell that for us?
It's Villarreal.
Okay. 2 R's.
2 R's and 2 L's.
Okay.
2 L's and then 2 R's.
So, on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn.
Do you have a website?
I do have a website. Okay. It's www.supportingstrategies.com.
Okay. Awesome. And I didn't prep you for this.
That's okay.
But I know you've listened to Network Today episodes, so you know what I'm going to ask, right? A little known fact about yourself.
A little known fact. Well, I'm full-blooded Lebanese American.
Wow.
So people usually don't guess that. I mean, obviously I was born and raised here, but both sides of my family originally came from Lebanon. So
cool.
People guess Italian or different things, and they usually don't say Lebanese.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We like to, have family reunions every other year where we bring food and dancing and all that. So it's fun. We try to carry on traditions with the family that way. So.
Cool.
I bet they're the best too.
It's fun.
Can I get an invitation?
Definitely. Yes, you can.
It's my favorite food.
Just come
of all
down
time.
to Kerrville. We go down to Kerrville these last several years. This is where we've been having them. So it's a nice community.
So awesome.
So it is the Kerrville Music Festival. That is their reunion. So just in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What a delight to A, get to know you, and to B, have you on this show to talking about the things that have helped you determine what your networking groups, what's the sift and sort process, how that's allowed some of those to really bubble up to the surface. So, and I can't wait to, in 2024, hear what's happened 2022 to 2023 to 2024. It's going to be exponential growth, I bet.
Well, thank y'all for having me. I've learned a lot just from you too. So,
great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Denise. We'll have you back soon, and we'll be back. So wouldn't life be nicer if all bookkeepers and CPAs were as nice and just lovely as Denise?
Oh, she was awesome. Yeah, I would not have guessed she was a bookkeeper, accountant, numbers gal.
No, because she's lovely, and I'm going to use this term, and I hope it comes off the way it's designed to, but affectionate.
Yes.
Right? There's just an affectionateness about her that really is, I think, endearing.
Well, I remember when I first met her over at Mid-Market West, she was just she was very proactive. She came up to me, introduced herself, and said that she had watched the show. She was just so friendly, and I like that word, affectionate. You could just feel it. She had that kind of karma.
Yes, absolutely. So I know I've targeted a couple of things that she said that really were meaningful to me. What about you?
I think it was really, I loved this conversation because, she is a newbie into the networking, and she outlined kind of the difficulty, how difficult it is, Whack-A-Mole. There's so many choices. And I think, Dallas-Fort Worth is the networking capital of the world. There's thousands of choices out there. So it is very hard. And she was, going through that and, made a couple of mistakes, but she was so intentional then by learning very quickly, so intentional. One of the things I think a takeaway was how she would talk to members, talk to the leadership. So she was beginning to ask questions, be more intentional, so she could find out if it was the right group for her.
Yeah, absolutely. The investigative part is probably something that's missed by a lot of people. So for me, I love that she Googled. Right. So she just went on a search.
Right.
She went through LinkedIn to find groups.
Right.
I think that so many times we can just hope it happens, spontaneous combustion or something, right? That it just falls in our lap. But she was proactive in seeking those things out. The other thing that really stood out to me, because I was having this conversation with somebody who runs a networking group and what we want to get out of networking groups, and she said, "I'm looking for referral sources, right? That I want to refer more people to more people."
Right.
Not that she's looking for business from that group to come to her. That's the networking mindset that we talk about all the time.
Absolutely. And another couple of quick things that she talked about was, one is she learned very quickly that she needs to limit the number of groups she goes to.
Yeah.
And one thing I loved what she said was she loves her chambers. And of course, I'm a big chamber fan myself, because I just went to chamber luncheon today and had a fabulous time, was able to meet new people and that type of thing. So the chamber is important. So I think she's right on track, Sheryl.
Yeah, I do too. And I like the smaller chambers, just my personal preference.
Right. Yeah.
So I do happen to know that Keller and Grapevine are two exceptional ones. Big towns, small type chambers. So you have a lot of opportunity in those. Well, we're going to talk about how to quantify at the end of that 90 days when we get back.
A small business is still a business. At Purple Cow Branding, we want to help you execute your greatest visions for your company. Purple Cow works for small businesses that don't have big budgets to spend on their marketing efforts. Inquire now at purpleCowBranding.com to be the biggest little guy around. Purple Cow Branding, much more than digital marketing.
All right. So we've got some action items here. I know you do. But before we get to that, can I tell you what one of my little searches regarding networking groups and DFW showed me?
Spill the beans.
Spill the beans. Well, I couldn't find out the total number of networking groups. I was hoping that there would be an aggregated number.
Oh, I can tell you that. Thousands.
That's right. Well, I'd like something a little more specific than that, but certainly thousands. But here were, at least this is what came up. Even though I couldn't get a total number for DFW, these are the 15 best networking groups to belong to in 2022.
Very interesting.
And this came from KIIKY.com.
Wow.
KIIKY.com. All right. So these are the picks. And I want to know what you think about this. So number 1, they said, was BNI. Number 2, Chamber of Commerce. Number 3, Masterminds Networking Group. There's a LaTip on here as number 4. I've never heard of LaTip.
I went to a LaTip probably 12 years ago.
Okay. Do they exist
the only
here?
one. But it's a kind of one of those franchise networking groups, and there is 2 or 3 around town.
Oh, really? In Le DFW?
Yes.
Rotary Club. Know a lot of people who do that. Okay. Young Entrepreneurs Council, American Marketing Association, LinkedIn, Facebook, SCORE, Women in business networking. Number 12, entrepreneurs organizations. I think that's good. I want to do some more research on entrepreneurs organizations specifically. Local merchants associations. I'm going to mid-market professionals, going to do a whole discussion on certain associations that people can plug into. So you go to a melting pot like an MMP, but then you go that launches you into these very specific niches so that you can really begin to drill down in a certain industry vertical. So that was just a little foreshadow of what's to come there. Local merchant associate. Oh, I said that. Meetup groups, and then CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't thought about that.
I hadn't either.
Now, what do you think about BNI's number one?
Well, I think, I think they do. I mean, they set the standard. They've been around longer than anybody. It's a national organization. They have a lot of good, structure about them, a lot of resources. But again, there's two sides to a story.
Yeah.
And again, I think what I would tell the audience is, yes, go and try out a BNI and find out if it's your cup of tea.
Yeah, do the free trial.
Yeah, do the free trial first. Yes.
And shop as many free trials as you can during that whole Whackamole networking group process, because this is a 90-day search. That's if you're looking for a networking group, give yourself 90 days. And then you want to make a list of all of these different groups, go for free when at all possible, and then begin to mark those off your list. I don't know about.
No, I think that's correct. And what we're doing right now here for our audience, Sheryl, is that we're creating a new form. That will be posted probably by the end of the week. And it's to help them evaluate the different groups that you're telling the audience to do. This is key. You've got to, again, be intentional, find out what's the right fit for you.
Yeah, you do. For me, the over-structured stuff doesn't work. The weekly stuff, no way. Middle of the week, it's out of here, right? So that helped me begin to pare things down.
Yeah, sure.
So figure out, this is how I think the whole Whack-A-Mole process really worked for me. It's just me. What are my money-making hours? That's what I started with. For me, Tuesday through Thursday, 8 to 3. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm meeting with decision makers and employee groups, typically, right? There's some variation there. But then I had to work in my networking groups around that. So if things fell in the middle of that, likely, unless I've got a hole in my week, and that just happened arbitrarily, I'm not a good candidate for that group.
I think something that helped me last year in joining, actually it was probably 2 years ago, was again going inside your own community and asking people what is their best networking group.
That's great.
And if you hadn't heard of it or whatever, then ask them if they can invite you to be a guest.
And not just any person that you know.
No.
The people who are the best networkers that you know. And the people who are successful networkers.
Absolutely.
Right? True networkers. Yeah. So ask them, find out where they're going, and then start the Whack-A-Mole process from there and give it 90 days.
Yes.
All right. So our actionable items.
Okay. So one is, put your spreadsheet together, and we're going to have one up there pretty soon. Is that so you can properly evaluate that? Number two is, and it's part of the spreadsheet, but you got to talk about the cost of these events. Because like you've talked about, you can go bankrupt on this.
Ours was a 2-year tally, and we're like, what? Oh my, that's where the money went. And we could have bought a car.
And there's so many free groups out there nowadays.
Yeah, there are. And free isn't always the best place to be eternally.
Right.
Right. But at least start it free and then begin the paid process when it makes sense.
And then the last one is something that you had mentioned again is kind of the time you spend involved through drive time, how much time at the event itself.
Yep. That's exactly right. So especially we're talking DFW at this juncture, if you're in Midlothian, don't schedule yourself for Frisco, especially middle of the day, unless you've already got clients there.
Right.
So because what you're talking about, by the time you get done with a networking luncheon, which would be at least an hour and a half, you've got at least 45 minutes of drive time tagged on. So that's 3 hours out of the middle of your day. Yeah. So when people say, I'm not making any money, well, it's because you're not managing your time.
Right. Exactly.
Time is money. So it's an accounting system.
Yeah.
So, and if you're worth $100 an hour, that was just $300. You just, throughout the window.
I hope you did your scorecard at the end of that event so that you made it worthwhile. So,
the new scorecard. So, I think those are good actionable items, but the key is sift, sort, don't pay, and account for everything, both your time and your money.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we're going to post those action items on the website so you guys can do your homework, and again, so that you can increase your ROI in 2023.
That's right. So be sure to subscribe. info@networktodaydfw.com, because we've got some great tech tools. We've got some great Rob's Library reviews.
Yes.
And we've got our new personal development that will be launching here shortly. So we're working on it. And you don't want to miss that. It comes to your inbox every week. All right. So cheers to you, my friend.
All right. You have yourself a great week, Sheryl.
All right. Network Today, where we take you from meeting people to
making money.
All right. See you later.
This has been a Purple Cow production.